Who are you? My son has never met you.
Ask him yourself. Some things a mother doesn't have to explain.
You need to leave. My son doesn't run to strangers.
Then ask yourself why his birthmark is identical to mine.
You told me she died to protect this family's name.
I only protected you from a woman with nothing.
Empire City. Founders Day. The lobby of Choi Tower gleams under crystal light. Marble floors polished so bright you can see the string quartet reflected in them. Reporters line the red carpet. Board members shake hands they don't mean. And in the middle of it all stands 6-year-old Minho Choi, gripping his nanny's hand in a suit too small for how fast he's growing. He has been quiet all morning. The way he gets when something feels wrong before he can explain why. His father is 3 feet away, shaking the hand of a senator, too busy for the world's quietest warning signs. Then he lets go. He runs past the photographers, past his own father, straight toward a woman on her knees near the service entrance, scrubbing gum off the marble in a gray cleaning uniform. He wraps both arms around her waist like he's known her his whole life. "Don't take me away from her," he says, loud enough for every camera to hear. "She has my mark." The room goes silent. And Jae-won Choi, the coldest, most controlled CEO in Empire City, watches his own son cling to a stranger he has never met in his life, and feels something crack open in his chest for the first time in 6 years. Security moves fast. Too fast. 2 men in dark suits pull the woman to her feet before she can even finish apologizing. Her name is Tiana Coleman, 29 years old. 6 years of double shifts behind her eyes. She has never seen this child before in her life, she swears it, right there on the marble, in front of 300 guests and a dozen phones already recording. Nobody believes her. A woman in pearls mutters that security should have caught her before she ever got near the boy. A man with a network badge already types out the headline in his head. In this room, sympathy is a currency Tiana has never been given enough of to spend. She probably planned this, someone whispers. Some women will do anything for a payday. Jae-won doesn't defend her. He can't. All he sees is his son's arms locked around a stranger, and 6 years of carefully built control threatening to fall apart in front of the entire board. He tells security to remove her from the building, quietly, before the reporters get closer. Tiana doesn't cry. She learned years ago that crying in front of rich people only makes them feel better about throwing you out. She just looks down at Minho one more time and freezes. There on the inside of his small wrist is a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon, the exact same mark she has carried her whole life. If a stranger's child ever ran to you like that, refusing to let go, would you walk away? Or would you ask why? Type the city you're watching from right now, hit subscribe and stay close. Because Tiana is about to ask the one question this family never wanted answered. That night, in a one-room apartment above a laundromat, Tiana sits on the edge of her bed holding the only photograph she owns of her son, a hospital photo, blurry, taken minutes after he was born 6 years ago. She was told he didn't survive the night. She never got to hold him again. Never got a grave to visit, no matter how many times she asked. Just a folder of papers signed while she was still half sedated, and a doctor who wouldn't meet her eyes. She has spent 6 years telling herself it was true, because the alternative was too painful to carry. But tonight, a little boy with her exact birthmark refused to let go of her hand. Coincidences don't have crescent moons. By morning, Tiana is fired from the cleaning contract without warning. No explanation. Just a text and a final check, 20% short. She goes anyway back to Choi Tower, past the same security who dragged her out, because a mother who has spent 6 years grieving a child she was never allowed to bury does not scare easily anymore. Dolores Whitfield, the house's longtime housekeeper, is the one who lets her in through the kitchen entrance. Dolores has worked for this family for 11 years. She has watched Jae-won raise a motherless son in near silence. She has also, for 6 years, kept a single photograph in a drawer she was once told to destroy and never could. Dolores remembers the woman she used to be at 25, desperate enough to keep a secret for a paycheck, and old enough now to know that some paychecks cost more than they pay. She watches Tiana's hands, restless and careful at the same time, and something in her chest tightens like a fist around a memory she has spent 6 years trying to set down. She doesn't show it to Tiana yet. Not yet. But her hands shake when she sees the crescent moon on the young woman's wrist. Jae-won finds Tiana standing in his son's playroom, watching Minho build a tower out of blocks like nothing happened. "You need to leave," he says. Quiet. Controlled. The voice he uses in boardrooms. "Your son grabbed my hand first," Tiana says. "I didn't touch him. I didn't ask for any of this. My son doesn't run to strangers." "Then maybe," Tiana says, voice shaking now, "I'm not the stranger you think I am." Jae-won stops. Something about the way she says it lands wrong in his chest, familiar, in a way he can't place and doesn't want to examine. "My son's mother died 6 years ago," he says, like reciting a fact he's said 1,000 times to make it feel less like a wound. "Whatever you're doing, whatever you think you'll get from this family, it ends today." Tiana looks at him for a long moment. Then she rolls up her sleeve and holds out her wrist, right next to where Minho is sitting. "Ask your son where he got his mark," she says. "Then ask yourself why it's identical to mine." Jae-won looks down at his son's wrist, then at Tiana's, and for one unbearable second, the boardroom voice in his head goes completely silent. Minho looks up between them, sensing the shift the way children always do before adults admit anything out loud. "She has my moon, Daddy," he says simply, like it settles everything. For him it already has. Something this family buried 6 years ago is about to come apart. Before it does, hit subscribe so you don't miss the moment Jae-won finds out the truth his own mother built his life on. Drop a comment, do you think Tiana already knows? Jae-won doesn't sleep that night. He pulls the adoption file his mother handed him 6 years ago, the file he never once questioned because grief doesn't ask for paperwork, it just accepts what it's given. The document lists an abandoned newborn, found at a private clinic, no known mother, emergency placement approved by a family friend on the hospital board. Jae-won reads the same 3 lines 7 times, the way a person reads a lie they have already decided to believe, searching for a crack he has never once looked for in 6 years. No known mother. But Dolores remembers something different. She remembers a young woman screaming for her baby in that same clinic 6 years ago, sedated within the hour, told the child had died. She remembers Helena Choi walking out of that hospital room with a folder under her arm, and a look on her face like she had just solved a problem. Dolores never asks questions. She needed the job. She has hated herself for it every day since. Now she pulls the photo from the drawer she was told to empty, and hands it to Jae-won. A hospital photo. A newborn. A crescent moon birthmark circled in pen by a doctor's note that reads, "Identifying mark, left wrist." Jae-won's hands are shaking. His mother didn't adopt an abandoned baby for him. She stole one. For 6 years, Helena Choi has controlled every version of this story. Now, for the first time, her son is holding proof that contradicts every word of it. Jae-won calls Tiana. He doesn't apologize first, he's not built for that yet. He just says 4 words. "Come to the house." When she arrives, he doesn't make her ask for anything. He places the hospital photo on the table next to the birthmark on his son's wrist, next to the identical mark on hers, and says the sentence he has spent 6 years avoiding. "I think you're his mother." Tiana doesn't answer right away. 6 years of being disbelieved doesn't disappear because one rich man finally opens a folder. "I know I am," she finally says. "I've known since the moment he wouldn't let go of my hand." That night, Jae-won tells her the part he has never told anyone. That 6 years ago, before the company, before the boardrooms, he loved a woman his mother decided wasn't good enough for the family name. That his mother told him she left. That his mother told him, months later, that woman had died in childbirth, and that the baby who survived was an orphan with no other family, a mercy, his mother called it, giving the child a home. He believed her. Because believing her hurt less than believing he had been robbed of 6 years with the woman he loved. He shows her the letters he wrote and never sent, the ones his mother told him were pointless because there was no one left to read them. Tiana reads 3 lines and has to stop, her hand pressed flat against her mouth, because the man who wrote them sounds exactly like the boy she fell in love with at 22, before the world decided her love wasn't enough collateral for a family name. Tiana tells him what those 6 years cost her too. The night she stood outside hospital gates she wasn't allowed back into. The job she lost when she couldn't stop crying long enough to work a register. The doctor's visits she couldn't afford because grief doesn't pay for therapy. I never stopped believing he was alive, she says. Everyone told me I was in denial. Turns out I just knew my own son. Helena doesn't take the confrontation quietly. She has spent 6 years and a fortune building the story that keeps this family respectable, including a formal engagement announcement to a senator's daughter, timed for the very same gala where all of this began. She threatens Dolores with termination and a ruined reputation if she repeats what she remembers. She tells J1 that dragging a cleaning woman into a custody fight will damage the company before the quarter even closes. She tells Tiana privately that she will bury her in legal fees before any court ever hears her name. She finds Tiana alone in the garden and speaks softly, almost kindly, the way people do right before they say something cruel. You were a mistake he made when he was young and foolish, Helena says. I simply corrected it. A mother protects her son from mistakes, even the ones with a heartbeat. You have nothing, Helena says. No money. No lawyer. No proof that will hold up against mine. Tiana looks at her the way a woman looks at someone she has already survived once. I have a birthmark in a mother's memory, she says. That's held up for 6 years without a single lawyer. It'll hold up in front of a judge too. The gala where this family's biggest secret gets exposed is next, and it's bigger than anyone in that room is ready for. Like this video, subscribe if you want justice for Tiana, and tell me where you're watching from tonight. The company's 10th anniversary gala goes ahead exactly as planned. Full press, full board, full crystal chandeliers. Helena stands at the podium, ready to announce her son's engagement to the senator's daughter. J1 walks in instead with Tiana beside him and Minho holding both their hands. He takes the microphone from his mother's hand before she can stop him. 6 years ago, he says, voice carrying across a silent ballroom, my mother told me the mother of my son had died. She lied. She paid a clinic to sedate a 23-year-old woman and tell her the same lie in reverse. Then she adopted that stolen child through a falsified emergency record, approved by a family friend sitting in this very room. He turns and looks directly at Richard Voss, chairman of the hospital's board and his mother's oldest ally, until the older man's champagne glass stops halfway to his mouth and does not move again. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Cameras that once filmed Tiana being dragged out now film Helena's face losing every ounce of composure she has spent 64 years building. This is his birth mother, J1 says, pulling Tiana forward. And I am done pretending she died so my family's name could stay clean. Helena's mask finally cracks. I did it to protect you, she says, voice breaking for the first time anyone in that room has ever heard. She had nothing. I gave him everything. You gave him a lie, J1 says. She gave him his life. The board doesn't wait for the scandal to settle. Within a week, an internal investigation, backed by Dolores's testimony and the falsified hospital record, confirms everything. The family friend who approved the fraudulent adoption resigns from the hospital board in disgrace. Helena steps down as chairwoman emerita, her name quietly removed from the company's founding wall by the following Monday. Tiana doesn't ask for revenge. She asks for something smaller and somehow bigger, full legal recognition as Minho's mother, and the 6 years of birthdays, school photos, and bedtime stories Helena's lie stole from both of them, given back in whatever way time still allows. The court doesn't just grant it. The judge, reading the case file aloud, calls it one of the clearest examples of maternal theft she has ever seen, and orders Helena to personally fund a legal aid program for mothers separated from their children by fraud. Dolores testifies without flinching, describing the drawer, the photograph, the sound of a young woman screaming down a hallway 6 years ago that she has never once forgotten, no matter how hard she tried. When the judge asks why she kept the photo instead of destroying it as instructed, Dolores answers simply, because some things you're told to throw away are actually the only proof that the truth ever happened. Tiana Coleman walks out of that courtroom not as the cleaning woman from the gala, but as Minho Choi's mother, in front of every camera that once refused to believe her. 6 months later, Empire City looks different from the inside of the Choi penthouse. Minho falls asleep most nights in Tiana's arms now, one small wrist resting against hers, 2 matching crescent moons finally where they belong together. Jaewon didn't win her back with an apology. He earned it slowly in every quiet afternoon he spent listening instead of explaining, every time he chose her voice over his mother's version of the truth, every time he simply showed up. "I'm not doing this because I feel guilty," he tells her one evening, watching Minho sleep between them. "I'm doing this because for the first time in 6 years, my son falls asleep next to both the people who actually made him." Minho stirs between them, murmuring something about lucky moons, and Tiana laughs quietly for what feels like the first time in 6 years without an ache hiding underneath it. Tiana touches her wrist, then his son's, then finally lets herself believe what she couldn't believe for 6 long years. Some mothers lose their children to time. Tiana Coleman only lost hers to a lie, and love, it turns out, remembers exactly where it left off. No amount of money can steal what a mother knows in her body before a single test confirms it. Tiana never had a lawyer. She never had proof. All she had was a birthmark and a memory the world tried to convince her wasn't real, and it was enough. If this story moved you, hit subscribe right now so you never miss a story like this one from Empire City Romance Stories. Like this video if you believe Tiana deserved every second of that reunion. Comment where you're watching from tonight, and turn on notifications because next week another family's buried truth is coming to the surface, and you will not want to miss the moment it breaks.